I know what it's like to have that nagging voice in your head telling you that you're not really capable or deserving of your success. But today we're going to dive deep into why imposter syndrome shows up and how to kick it out of the driver's seat for good. Hey, I'm Lara, an artist, educator and entrepreneur who's danced through life in Australia, London and California. Now I'm an Aussie in Atlanta, Georgia, USA. Juggling roles as an artist, ex-dancer, current actor, author, professional educator and qualified life coach, I'm also a wife and mother of two. Join me on this podcast crafted for creative souls at every level, entrepreneurs, artists, dreamers and hope-filled humans alike. I'm here to guide you towards a life of love, purpose, adventure, and boundless creativity. As a healthy, wealthy, and wise creative soul, I invite you to hit subscribe for weekly inspiration. Anticipate solo episodes, exclusive interviews with creative luminaries, and insightful discussions with my hottie hubby Andrew, a specialist performance physical therapist, as we delve into the dynamics of relationships and more. Dive into a 360-degree view of making a creative life you'll love. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Lara, your life and creativity coach, and today we're diving into a topic that I know so many of us have wrestled with: imposter syndrome and self-doubt. If you've ever felt like a fraud, like your work isn't good enough, or that one day someone's going to figure out that you're just winging it, then this episode is for you. Lately, I've been hearing a lot of feedback from you guys, especially clients, about feelings of doubt, fear, and even past pain that have been hard to shake off. And I know what it's like to have that nagging voice in your head telling you that you're not really capable or deserving of your success. And as a creative, those thoughts can be especially damaging. But today we're going to dive deep into why imposter syndrome shows up and how to kick it out of the driver's seat for good. Let me start with a quick story from one of my earlier coaching days. I was working with a woman, let's just call her Sarah, name changed for privacy, but she was incredibly talented as a painter, a visual artist, and she'd been invited to display her work in a local gallery, which is a huge milestone for any artist, right? But instead of celebrating, Sarah was paralyzed with fear, and she told me, Lara, I feel like they're going to realize I don't belong there, that I'm not a real artist, that I don't deserve this opportunity. Now, if you saw Sarah's work, you'd understand how absurd that sounded. Her paintings were vivid, emotional, full of life and colour. But here she was, convinced that she was a fraud and that someone would call her out. And that is classic imposter syndrome at play. So what exactly is imposter syndrome? It's that feeling that you're not as competent as others may perceive you to be, and that you don't deserve your achievements, and that at any moment someone's going to figure out that you're not, inverted commas, legit. So for Sarah, even though she had proof of her talent, that self-doubt crept in and made her feel so unworthy. So real talk, I've been there too many times, and I remember when I, a couple years ago, decided to launch my coaching business and change from just really focusing on art on my social media and just being who I am, Lara the artist, and going into coaching. Even though I've been an educator for 20 years, even though I have been studying coaching as a profession and actually qualified, even though I've been a professor, associate professor of acting in a conservatory, after all of that, I start to change the direction a couple years back of my social media, and I felt like, what if people just are laughing at me? Who am I to coach people? What if they realize that I don't have all the answers? That's imposter syndrome. And if it sounds familiar, it's very, very common, especially for creatives. Now, I want to share 3 strategies that have helped both Sarah and myself, and I believe that they can help you too. So number 1, normalize self-doubt, creative. One of the things I told Sarah was that these feelings of inadequacy, they're just completely normal. The truth is, everyone experiences imposter syndrome at some point, whether you're just starting out or you've been in the game for years, it doesn't mean you're not talented. It just means you care about what you do. Then you care what others think, which is a natural part of the human condition. Let's think about it this way. If you didn't care about your craft, you probably wouldn't be so critical of yourself. Doubt is often a sign that we're stepping outside of our comfort zone, pushing our boundaries and trying to grow. The trick is to acknowledge the self-doubt without letting it take over your progress. One of my absolute favourite actresses is Meryl Streep, and it's a great example that she publicly shared that she felt like an imposter too. Despite her legendary, and I mean legendary career, she admitted that after each role, she worries that she'll never be able to do it again, that she'll somehow be found out. So if someone of that caliber feels self-doubt, you're in pretty good company, that it's just a normal part of artist life. Number 2 strategy for helping you with imposter syndrome is to reframe your success. This one's big. Imposter syndrome makes us feel like our achievements aren't really our own. We tell ourselves it was luck, it was timing, or that we somehow tricked everyone into believing we're better than we are. So for Sarah, that's exactly what was happening. She kept saying, I just got lucky that the gallery chose me. But what I helped her realize was that it had nothing to do with it. Luck, I do believe in the arts, that luck, being in the right place at the right time, does have something to do with it. But in this particular instance, her talent, dedication, and unique artistic vision got her there. She had worked hard for a decade or more. Now, when you reframe your success, you start to see it as the result of your effort and your hard work and your growth. And that finally, you've been in the right place at the right time, met the right people, and that your hard work and that combined gave you that opportunity. And it's not just Sarah. How many times have you brushed off a compliment with something like, oh, it's no big deal, or anyone could have done it? I used to do that all the time too, but I want you to practice owning your wins. The next time someone praises your work, say thank you and acknowledge that you worked hard, you made it happen, you created something. Trust me, it feels awkward at first, but my friend, it is a powerful shift in knocking imposter syndrome on the head. Right, number 3, here's a lovely one for you to remember. Create before you compare. It's a tough one. Comparison is one of the quickest ways to fuel imposter syndrome. It's so easy to scroll through Instagram or Pinterest and see other people's work thinking, I'll never be that good, or they're way more talented than I am. They have way more followers. But what we forget is that we are comparing someone's highlight reel to our behind the scenes. And they started somewhere too and had all the same struggles that you might be facing right now. I remember working with another client, I'm just going to call him John, who was an illustrator. He would constantly compare his sketches to those he saw online, and he'd get stuck, unable to produce anything because he really felt like he just didn't measure up. But once I got him to stop scrolling and start drawing, the magic happened. So creating before he consumed, creating his own work before comparing or letting that voice have any place in his life. And he stopped worrying about what others were doing, and he focused on his own voice and style. So if you find yourself in that comparison trap, put your phone down, step away from the screen, and just make something, create. Do it for the love of creating, not for how it compares to someone else's work. We can only be in our own lane. We can only run our own race. Your journey is yours alone, and there's no one else who can bring to life what you can bring to life. Your creativity is actually a unique contribution, and it's the only thing that is unique that you can bring to this world is your own creativity. So make sure that you are focused on your lane and don't let comparison stop you. So I want to close this mini-sode episode by reminding you that imposter syndrome isn't a reflection. It's not a reflection of your talent, your worth. It's not a reflection of your worth, and it's not a reflection of your potential. It's a story that you tell yourself, one rooted in fear and one rooted in doubt. That's why I so often say that success starts with thinking that you can get there, with believing in your own creative voice and finding it and speaking your creative voice. But just because that story pops up, it doesn't mean that you have to believe it. Any story that pops up that comes against where you want to go as an artist or a creative, you don't have to believe it. Remember Sarah, the painter, the visual artist I mentioned at the beginning? She went on to have that successful gallery showing, not because she magically stopped feeling like an imposter, but because she learned to push through those feelings and trust in her work. And I call that doing it afraid, which is just normal and part of being an artist. And you can do the same. You are an artist. You do deserve the space you're in. Your voice, your work, and your story matters. And don't let imposter syndrome steal that from you. All right, my friends, I hope this episode gave you some clarity and tools to start reclaiming your creative confidence. If this resonates with you, let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts or answer any question that you have. You can reach me on social media or through my website, larabiancapilcher.com. And until next time, my friends, stay brave, stay creative, and remember, you are enough exactly as you are. Bye for now. P.S. Now's a great time to have creativity coaching with me. You can check it out at larabiancapilcher.com. On my website, I would love to work with you on kicking imposter syndrome and getting your unique creative voice and work into the world. Phew, today's masterclass is done. I love reaching back and saying, I've done this, and helping you learn the easy way. If you want more, head to larabiancapilcher.com for show notes, links, freebies, my blog, coaching and courses, and you can also head to my socials, Lara Bianca Pilcher on Instagram and Facebook. I'm also on Twitter and Pinterest. Thanks again for listening. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That would mean the world to me. And of course, keep on living the healthy, wealthy, wise artist living towards your dream life. Bye, friends. P.S. Shout out to my hottie hubby, Andrew Pilcher, who does all the editing on this podcast.